So inconceivable.
Hmm.
It's interesting that this book was published by Prabhupada.
First one.
Before, huh?
It's the first one I read.
Yeah, before the Bhagavad Gita. And yet this is so advanced. It's like
Yeah.
so much details in this book as opposed to the Bhagavad Gita.
Hmm. Makes you wonder. Who can understand the mind of Srila Prabhupada?
Well, we know that Srila Prabhupada put out the 10th canto in the form of Krishna book because he wanted to make sure that we had the life and activities and pastimes of Krishna. And so I think he also wanted to have these very important instructions of Lord Chaitanya out there just in case something happened and he never got a chance to do the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, that's the way.
That was the thinking behind the Krishna book.
Yeah, that's what I think also. That he wanted.
That was the same logic of the Krishna book as well, right? He wanted to.
Yes.
In one sense, it was the logic of the Bhagavad Gita that came out in 1968, the purple one.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to say also this TLC and Nectar of Devotion, especially, is the psychology of the soul. And Nectar of Devotion, and that is Rupa Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami is our Samanda. Again, Samanda means relationship. Relationship also is ultimately our relationship with Krishna in our rasa. That comes from Raghunath Das Goswami. That's who I am. Sanatana Goswami Samanda means what am I? What am I? What? And these are the psychology. And the Nectar of Devotion is Rupa Goswami. That is Abhideya. That's the practice. That is the psychotherapy.
Mm.
Can you repeat that again?
I'll put it in better order. Sanatana Goswami is our Sambandha Jnana Guru, Acharya.
Yes.
And that means Sambandha means our relationship.
Our relationship.
That's our relationship of
Right.
what am I in relationship to Krishna. How to get that relationship comes in Nectar of Devotion from Rupa Goswami. That's called Abhideya. That's our sadhana. And the fulfillment is prayojana. Prayojana in Bengali means need. Ki prayojan. Is there any need? Need. The ultimate thing to acquire, the needful. Prabhupada always used to say, do the needful. And that is, who am I? That's when you come to full realization of your Siddha Deha, your personality in relationship to Krishna in a rasa. So we have a what am I, how to get there, and then who am I? So that's Sanatana, and that's Madan Mohan deity, Govinda, and Govinda. Those three deities are the Samada Abhideya, and Prayojana deities.
Did Raghunath Das Goswami worship Gopinath?
The deity?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his deity, yes. Yes.
Okay, I
that
see.
Original deity is
Interesting. Just like Sanatana Goswami's deity was Madan Mohan and Rupa Goswami's deity was Radha Damodar. Yes?
Govinda. No, Jiva Goswami is Damodar. Rupa Goswami is Govinda.
Okay, right, correct. Thank you.
And I've heard that the deity of Radha Damodar was chiseled and carved by Rupa Goswami.
Really?
Yes. For Jiva Goswami.
Wow. Siddhanta Prabhu is a Chitananda.
Wow is a symptom of Santaras. Yes. You're stunned. Stamba is the first symptom of, and symptom of Shantaraj. You're so wow. And in Sanskrit, it's written reverse. It's ha u ha.
You're giving me some hope.
In Sanskrit, there's a Samaveda verse like that. What?
Siddhanta Prabhu, you have some Prabhupada memory that's coming out of you?
I have a Chutananda memories. I mean,
yes,
he's the
now I'm in trouble.
in this group. He should be leading it.
Yes.
I was giving classes in Denver, Colorado, to high schools and colleges, and Chutananda Maharaj came by, and it's like, okay, here, please, take over. And he did. He had them spellbound. I mean, they couldn't say anything against anything that he was saying because it was so logical and forceful and humorous. And everyone, like with Prabhupada, everyone realized in the audience that he was a superior personality. And with the Chutananda in the class, at least make a little humility out of him, but at least with the students in the audience, he was the advanced soul in that.
There was one class. So the professor was a Muslim, and the class that didn't come out so good. One lady was eating a hamburger, and I think her daughter joined the temple, and she was angry, so that didn't go so well. But that he introduced her very poorly. And first of all, he told the whole class, it was at the end of the semesters, he says, everybody's going to get an A. So nothing matters now.
I also remember. Okay, sorry.
Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita is the original Shastra of our Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Really?
Yeah, and this Vyabhichari Bhava now, that's further discussed in Nectar of Devotion. And there was some college devotee went to college, and then, what are you reading? Eckhart Tolle. I said, who's he? Well, he studied all the religions and came to this conclusion. What? Silence. I said, he studied all the religions? He said, yeah. And then I said, what does he think of Vyabhichari Bhava? What? Well, then he hasn't studied all the religions.
Yeah, he's
like 33 aspects of our emotions are there. What kind of psychology can do so?
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
So here's a problem.
Do you know if he ever studied Gaudiya?
Prabhupada about no, otherwise he would know.
Of course not.
I mean, like after the conversation, I would think he would want to do that after getting stoned.
So Brahmananda was telling Prabhupada about Sigmund Freud. And he said in a sarcastic way, he said, Sigmund Freud says that everything is stimulated only by sex. And Prabhupada said, yes. Everything in this material world is governed by raga, kama, lust. The sex desire. Then also Brahmananda was telling Prabhupada about Frankenstein. This is hilarious. In the mid-1800s, there was a book that they thought they could become God by creating life. And this Frankenstein and Prabhupada said, I have seen your Frankenstein. young Frankenstein. So then I heard from Guru Das, they were on a plane and they were showing that comedy movie.
Oh.
And he also said, all the devotees were watching, they didn't want to laugh. And he turned around and Prabhupada was laughing and laughing.
I have seen your Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Is that where you got your sense of humor from Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, but no, we grew up. My father also. My father, we were listening to all kinds of comedies. And then my father's first created joke was, there are two things I don't like, bigotry and Italians.
Better be careful. Jivan Mukta's from an Italian family.
Oh,
It's okay.
but he's not the body.
Yeah,
So this Vyabhachari Bhava, does it list the 33?
No.
we got to that.
yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. At least.
Okay. Is it there?
I don't see it.
Because Lord Chaitanya also, I would like this to be done in the spirit of Andy Warhol, to paint 64 Vishnus. And because Mahaprabhu explains this to Sanatan, of
Right.
all the different names, and each one has a conch shell, lotus,
Right.
club, and chakra in different hands, and they have different names: Narayan, Vasudev, Sridhar,
Rishikesh.
Pradyumna, Rishikesh. So if somebody could paint 24, or maybe it goes up to 64 Vishnus, that would be a meditation.
It would. How far did you get, Jivan Mukta? Did you finish the paragraph?
Yes.
Actually,
We're at-
Nityananda Prabhu, this is the
And
cover.
Oh, yeah.
To be specific, Vyabhachari is a listing of the 33 kinds of emotions. Sanchari is when they combine. Sankirtan, to
Okay.
congregation, when we congregate. So when these feelings congregate, come together, there may be some different 3 or 4 or 12 of these sancharis that combine. And then you're in the waves of the Gaurangira, Madhur Lila,
Gorangara Duti Pada. Gorangara Duti Pada.
Gora Prema Rasanave, Setaranga Jeva Tuve, Sri Radha Madhava Antaranga. That's when you dive into the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's sweetness, Lila, you come up, you surface in the waves of Radha Madhava internal pastime.
So, Gaur Prabhu, I have a suggestion. I mean, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are great, but considering the honor and privilege we have of Chutananda Prabhu.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, I would love to hear from him. Some Prabhupada stories.
Yes.
Let's hear.
I mean, I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but
I'm totally into it.
yeah.
What was I'll ask Chutananda Prabhu a question if I
What
may.
is this, Denver?
Damn.
We're all over the place. Siddhanta's in California. Krishna Chandra's in Long Island. Jivan Mukta's an hour north of me. I'm an hour and a half north of Toronto. Krishna Das about an hour and a half east of me in Peterborough.
I'm in north central.
Right. And Sika Rani's in Rochester near Buffalo.
Yes. Also about and also Nectar of Devotion. See, the title of my book, titles come last. So Brahmatirtha, Hridayananda, they also helped me pay for the book, financed it, and
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Sadhus.
Sadhus.
Sadhus. Excuse me.
That's another movie. But Blazing Sadhus. So Brahmatirtha asked me, what's the title? I said, well, let me finish the book. The title comes last. So I said, what about Blazing Sadhus? He says, I like that. And so it was just a joke. Then I see the verse of Rupa Goswami that says the Ashta Sattvic Bhavas, that's trembling and dancing and sweating and stamba, being stable, being frozen, and laughing and crying, tears. These like fainting. These are ecstasies which appear in 5 intensities: smoldering, flaming, more flaming, brightly flaming, and blazing.
Wow.
So I saw that. I said, the title stays. This is a sign from God. So I kept the title.
Great. It works. So I'm trying to get it's been a while. Like I read your book cover to cover in one reading. As soon as it came out, it was sent as a gift to me. I'm trying to remember. Srila Prabhupada went first with Kirtanananda to India, then he returned with him. Then he sent you, because you're the first one after Kirtanananda went, right?
Yes. I was all prepared to go, but I couldn't get it until the following September. They left in June, and I left in September. And we never asked, this is great, Prabhupada's story. But so Prabhupada was leaving in June, and then we never would ask him about prophecy or anything like that. But I said, before he left, I said, Prabhupada, will I make it to Vrindavan? And he looked at me and said, we will meet again in Braja. Rest assured.
Jai.
Oh.
So I got that going for me.
Yeah, he had a specific construction though. He wanted you to just settle alone on your own to India.
That was, well, I went on my own, but then I joined them in Radha Damodar temple. Kirtananda left a few weeks later, and I stayed on with Prabhupada alone. There was another devotee for a while, Ramanuja, but he wasn't very serious. But I had Prabhupada all to myself for about until December.
For how long? How many months? How long?
So from September till December, 67.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were alone with Prabhupada at Radha Damodar for 3 months.
Well, we traveled to Delhi, the Delhi Chippiwada place, and then to see one thing also, Nectar Devotion keeps coming up. There's the qualities of Krishna, and one of them is gravity. And I thought right away, this is the first reading. I said, what do you mean gravity? Krishna's always playing and dancing. And what, grave means serious? No, grave doesn't mean serious. So then I look back at the book and it says, a person is grave who you don't know what he's thinking.
Right.
You don't know what his plan. That's why I would cringe when people say, well, what Prabhupada really means, you don't know what he knows. And you would never know, you'd never know what his plans were going to be. So one day he said, pack up, we're going to Navadvip to the Vyasa Puja of my godbrother, Sridhar Maharaj. I didn't know what Vyasa Puja meant. I didn't know any, but when I packed up and we take the train, slow train on to Calcutta, where we met the Malik family. That's the picture on the cover of Prabhupada dancing with the Malik family and me. And then we went a nice trip up from the Shelter station to Navadvip to Sridhar Maharaj's place. And saw the Vyasas on there, the Vyasa Puja. And Prabhupada translated Sridhar Maharaj's speech. Sridhar Maharaj said, you may think it is my conceit that I sit here and let you praise me and worship me, but I am only sitting here in place of my guru, who was unable to attend today, having business on another dimension.
Beautiful.
He said, I think even an animal in the jungle would be embarrassed to sit here and let you worship me like this. Oh, well, he was, and his face looked like, when is this over? You know. Oh, wow. He looked so disturbed. He wasn't just drinking it in. He was just the most shameful face.
You must have seen the love that Srila Prabhupada had for his godbrother, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. You witnessed some of that.
Yes.
I have a photo.
Well, yes and no. I witnessed it by absence.
Yes.
They were talking. I was with them, and then Sri Marj told me to go downstairs. So I waited for about an hour. Then Prabhupada came down. I said, "What did you speak about?" He said, "If I told you, you would faint."
That's famous. That's a famous statement.
Yes,
He is,
Prabhupada,
yes.
Prabhupada said that to in other
ways, in other times
as well, to other devotees.
I
Yes.
always found that in speaking with Shrutakirti and Hari Sori Prabhu's, how it must have been so intense to be with Srila Prabhupada all that time and serving him so, because the pure devotee just functions on a completely different platform, and to be on that platform with him, trying to keep up must be really intense. Did you find that at Chutananda Prabhu?
In the beginning, but then just like Krishna says, I'm not really, there's a verse that I don't remember. Krishna says, I'm not really pleased by awe and worship, awe and reverence, but by the intimate and close service of my devotees. So also because I learned Bengali, like a lot of times Prabhupada and I would speak in Bengali when we didn't want anybody else to know what we were talking about. So that was close. So sometimes he would treat me, but on another time, for instance, Shesha's wife asked me, "Did Prabhupada ever chastise you?" I said, "Constantly." So,
wow, and you could take it. You took it.
but when you're close enough, you can take it. But if you're not, that is a blessing that you're close enough to take it, because if somebody is a very neophyte and you chastise, they'll go away. So he's a nice devotee, very nice. A very important story. I was outside the room. Some lady went in, and I could hear the Prabhupada said, "We need you to cook." She says, "No, Prabhupada, I want to sew." So right there. Uh-oh. So Prabhupada said, "All right, you can sew." She comes out of the room. "Prabhupada ordered me to sew." Did he? That's a concession. Right. And I've been coming back to this a lot. 12th chapter of Gita, verses 8 through 12, 13. Yeah. There are these concessions.
If you can't do this, do that.
Yes. So you're coming down. And that brings up a funny story. Do you know the secret of Pumundi?
The secret of Pumundi.
Yeah. Now that just got changed after 4 decades. You know Pumundi?
It's in the Gita. It's in Arabic.
Chapter 12.
Yeah. Yeah, verse 10, I think.
Yeah.
That's one of the concessions. If you can't work for me, then perform charitable and pious activities, such as doing charity on Pumundi Day, on Pumundi. So they thought it was the name of a holiday. Nobody asked them, but they went back. They found the recording from the dictaphone. Prabhupada was saying full moon day. Form charitable activities so those are Karma Kandya and Varnashram stage devotion, which now we'll come to teachings of Lord Chaitanya. When we come to Ramananda Rai, the first thing Ramananda Rai says, what is our duty? Varnashram Dharma, Ehavachya. That is external. Go on, go on. The first thing is Varnashram Dharma, rejected. Ehavachya. And really, Bhajakata in Bengali is a very polite way of saying BS. It is rubbish. I asked, Prabhupada was also talking to some godbrothers, and some Bhajakata. All rubbish talk. So
that is so special that you could learn Prabhupada's language, because that allowed you a certain intimacy with him that most of us didn't have.
I couldn't hear you all. You froze.
I'm saying that
You
that
were in
had a-
ecstasy.
you had a special intimacy with Prabhupada because you entered into his language. Did you learn Bengali on your own, or did Prabhupada teach, or how?
No, I had to learn it because you really learn it. I'm not good at language, believe me, but if you're in a place where nobody speaks English, you learn much faster. And I was listening to
called-
the,
Yes.
go ahead. I was listening to all the lectures from pundits and sannyasis who always spoke in very high Bengali, and it's the same as the language form as Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, which people still spoke at that time. I could not read newspapers. That language was very different, the very concurrent. But the chaste book Bengali, they call it, that's how I spoke.
I have an early Chaitanya Bhagavat. The first Chaitanya Bhagavat I got was translated by you. I have a copy of that.
Yeah. Okay, you're frozen. You're in ecstasy.
No, I'm not. You're frozen.
Okay. No, it's very hard here. So what, in the first Chaitanya Bhagavat, what?
The first one that I got was translated by you. I have it as a manuscript.
Yes. And I quit Bhakti Siddhanta. You know how Bhakti Siddhanta writes in English?
No.
Whereas the
Oh yes, his very highfalutin English.
absolute autocrat on the parabolic curve will. That's the way he writes in Bengali. And I asked,
Oh my God,
sannyasis in Gaudiya Math, I said, what does this part mean? And they said, you have to crack your head to understand Bhakti Siddhanta. And this goes back to even Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas. Throughout our sampradaya, from Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas, is to give dignity to this. To give. That's why Jiva Goswami, if you read Jiva Goswami, you'll say, this can't be Sahajiya. This can't be, because we do have these ecstatic symptoms. So people will think it's just religious, folk dancing or something, or Hindu love poetry. Yuck. So if you read Bhaktisiddhanta's English or Bengali, it is so proper and so high language that it has to command respect.
So, some of these words don't even exist in the dictionary anymore.
Yeah. It's also very interesting. In Bagh Bazar temple, all of Bhaktisiddhanta's temples, the deity door is very narrow. You can't see Radha and Krishna Mahaprabhu in one thing. You have to move. And Bhaktisiddhanta did that, especially. He said, because that will make people take an effort to see the deities. You have to move. So right away, there's a desire. Amazing. A very narrow door.
Achyutananda Prabhu, you mentioned the teachings of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and about the Varnashram and that being dismissed outright. Now, Srila Prabhupada apparently said, that 50% of my mission is not complete, that, I haven't, established Varnashram.
Yes, that's a concession for people who want to sow. First thing is Sankirtan. Read books, distribute books, and spread this message. That is not so external. That is also a quality of Radharani. Is Madhuja and Audarja, compassion. Krishna Upadesh. Whoever you see, whoever you meet, talk about Krishna. Do you get calls from India? Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm from Health Department. You get those calls?
Yes.
Yeah, so I say, oh, hiya, Timmy. I'm not Asolnanki. What is your real name? They laugh. Then how are you feeling? How is your health? I said, I'm diving and surfacing in an ocean of transcendental Krishna rasa. And they go, oh, and then they hang up.
Krishnadas Kaviraj, maybe you could ask Achyutananda Prabhu Maharaj the first thing when I came on, you asked me about Mahabhava, that paragraph that you originally started with.
Oh, yeah.
Can you go back? Because
Yeah, maybe you have some insight.
You'll have some insight. If you could read that to him.
Yeah. Here we go. Ooh. Did I read the second? Yeah. Second paragraph? Yes. Or no, it's in the third paragraph. Yeah. So in the third paragraph of this chapter, Achyutananda Prabhu, it talks about, no, wait a minute. Or no, it's actually in the last paragraph of the one before, the chapter 13, the last paragraph of chapter 13. When a person engaged in devotional service and love of God sings the glories, his heart melts because the Lord is very dear to him. He glorifies the Lord's name, fame, and so on. He becomes almost like an insane man. And in that condition, he sometimes laughs, sometimes cries, sometimes dances. He continues in this way without even considering his situation. By gradually developing his love of Godhead, he increases his affection, his emotion, and his ecstasy. The culmination of such attachment is Mahabhava. Now, that's Srila Prabhupada there. And then we also heard, I think Gaur Prabhu was reading that Rupa Goswami talks about Mahabhava is only experienced by Radharani and her associates. And so here, but Srila Prabhupada is sort of speaking of somebody who is coming up to that stage of Mahabhava. Is it that person is then becoming an associate of Radharani or a servant of?
We are eternal. Yes, that's showing advancement when you're showing symptoms. But those symptoms are on the body. When there's tears, it's when the ecstasy is agitating the water in our body. When the hairs stand up on end and goosebumps, that is when the ecstasies are agitating the airs in the body. When there's complete fainting, that is when the symptoms are affecting the physical bones of your body.
And so the jiva can
but Mahabhava is experienced down to Saka rasa. There's really no Das rasa in Goloka because all the servants are really Nanda Baba's servants. Right. But from Saka up to Gopi, the Madhurya, they have Mahabhava. And Lokaguru is you on?
Yeah.
Well, this is your topic. Tell them about the ecstasy of the gopis compared to Krishna.
Yeah, right. That's my topic.
You got some very advanced association there.
Well, I was going to say,
that's your specialty.
Isn't there the special ecstasy that Srimati Radharani experienced? Isn't that like Maha Bhakyabha? I don't know the word for it.
Madan and Mohan, that's madness, similar word even.
Yeah, but it's way beyond.
Yes.
And Prabhupada says, unless you're in this stage, actually, you shouldn't even accept a disciple.
Wow.
What to speak of.
Oh, where does Prabhupada say that? I'm just curious.
Well, I'll have to look it up. Hold on. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Yes, while you look it up, I just wanted to say, Achyutananda Prabhu, we have with us here Nitya Radha, Dr. Maheshwari from Pakistan. She's been the director and communications organizer of 10 temples in Pakistan.
And, I was going to do a Zoom there, but they never called back.
Yeah, I was organizing that for you. There you go, Nitya Radha. He's waiting for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, I want to give you the
we were ready to go ahead, and then email stopped.
She will resume. I wanted to tell you the good news that Nitya Radha and her two brothers, Ram Saka and Chandan Maheshwari, her two brothers and her cultivated the Pakistani government officials so nicely that they donated 5 million rupees to published 10,000 of Prabhupada's books in Urdu and Sindh. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, are you living in hiding, or how is it?
He's in Karachi. Karachi.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is simply amazing. I mean, Prabhupada.
This is some yoga maya is going on. Who knows what they're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a direct intervention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Srila Prabhupada.
And there's a big Hindu community in Dubai, which is a Muslim country also.
Yeah.
Her brother he started a temple where? Was it in Doha or Dubai?
He actually got training in Dubai, UAE. Yeah. He started teaching over there first of all.
And you're finding that the Muslim people, they're actually, I said to Lakshminath, I said, hey, let's go to Pakistan and do some preaching there. He said, yeah, right, and get our heads chopped off. But I don't think it's that violent there, is it?
When Dayananda was preaching in Iran, when he took books, he had to cut out all the photos, all the pictures.
Really?
Yeah. They couldn't see anything that directly related to anything that wasn't, Muslim. So they took Sanskrit. They thought that, that might be Muslim. No pictures.
Wow.
That was in the Shah's time, right?
Yeah, that was when the Shah was there. Yeah.
And I mean, even then they say that you can't see God.
Right.
Exactly. So your question was, where did Prabhupada say that? One place he said it in Nectar of Instruction, the verse 5 and the purport. One should not become a spiritual master unless he's obtained the platform of Uttam Adhikari. And then Prabhupada says in, let's see.
That's the Nectar of Instruction.
Huh?
That's in the Nectar of Instruction.
Yeah, Nectar of Instruction. Nectar of Devotion, he says that unless one is a pure devotee, how can he be spiritual master? And then again in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 24, verse 330 in the purport, when one has attained the topmost position of Mahabhagavat, he has to be accepted as guru and worshipped like Hari. Only such a person is eligible to occupy the post of guru. There's so many verses about this, but that doesn't mean that in the absence of a Mahabhagavat that someone can't accept disciples. But Prabhupada says on the in Nectar of Devotion in the verse 5 in the purport that you can be Madhyama Adhikari, you can be Kanishta Adhikari, but you have to, the disciples you accept have to be on the same level.
Right.
Yeah.
Up to your ability, up to your adhikari.
Yes. Yeah.
But what about the ecstasy of the gopis compared to the ecstasy of Krishna?
Well, the ecstasy of the gopis compared to the ecstasy of Krishna is in, I'll look for the quote, but let's see. Hold on, let me get that quote. I have to retrieve it. My brain is not so.
I think Adi 4.
No, it's in Madhya. Oh no, it is Adi 4. Wait a minute. Yeah, let's see. It is in Adi 4 verse 1. Let's see. Okay. Back on.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, here it is, 194.
Yeah.
Verse 194, 195. Therefore, we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. Krishna he's saying that the joy, Krishnadas Kaviraj says that the joy of the gopis is 10 million times, they experience 10 million times more happiness than Krishna does. And then in the purport, it says 1 million, 10 million meaning Radharani, 1 million meaning the gopis. So their happiness is 10 million times more, or 1 million times more than Krishna experiences in the relationships. It's just, it's inconceivable, that kind of happiness. So one has to ask, there's a question that comes up that we shouldn't really discuss, but it'll come up. So if someone is experiencing so much more happiness than Krishna, why would he be envious of Krishna?
Yeah.
But that's not really, I can't answer that. No one really can from this world.
But I came up, see, the one thing that I got from Sridhar Maharaj is what we can call segue, or taking one idea and then just finding so many reflections and examples. So I was speaking at last year, it was a Rupa Goswami Appearance Day conference. And
where was that? Where?
Online, all
Okay.
over.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
And so I very carefully, I explained very mundane, I said this is a very mundane example, but have you ever seen the old concerts of Elvis?
Yeah.
So he's on the stage, he's rich, beautiful wife, big house, cars, he's got an ecstasy. But the teenage girls, they're screaming. Elvis is not screaming.
Right.
Girls, and they know I can't be Mrs. Elvis, but what if?
Yeah.
I forget, Vritti, I forget that whole term. It is vicariously. We have vicarious idea. What if we could be Krishna's Upapati, girlfriend, private girlfriend? So that is only Radharani. But they're actually, look at those girls, they're screaming, they're jumping, some of them fainted. Sounds like Ashtasattvic Bhav. It's a mundane example. Of course, theirs is based on lust, but it is a perverted reflection.
Yeah.
Elvis isn't screaming.
At Beatles concerts, same thing.
He's singing, "Love Me Tender," but the girls, you can't even. They're not even listening to the music. They're just looking and going wild. So, one really crude example of like that. But Krishna, this is the power of Krishna's opulence of renunciation. Like you were saying, were we very tense to be around Prabhupada? Similarly, to be around, if Krishna came now, we'd faint. But Krishna's power of renunciation is that he can appear and just be like a friend. So that, because he wants that rasa, or a lover.
He wants it
or
all.
A parent, you see. He'd become a baby. After he kills Putana's body stretched out for so many yojanas, and he was up on top, and he says, "I can't get down, help me." And the cowherd men climbed up to bring him down. He's all powerful, but he said, "Help me down." Nanda Maharaj's son, bring me my shoes. He said, "I can't pick them up." This was a challenging question someone asked Prabhupada in 1966. Is Madhusudan still on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
You might remember. Yeah. So somebody asked a challenging question, and it's asked from it sounds like a question, but it's really silly. It's like, can God be stupid? Well, someone said, can Krishna make a rock so heavy that he can't pick it up?
Who said that?
Well, that's an old philosopher's question.
Yeah. So Prabhupada said, yes. Well, then he's not all powerful. Then Prabhupada said, then he will pick it up.
Right.
This goes on to this is in a purport also, that Krishna is always measuring his energy and then expanding it and then measuring it and expanding it. Then we come to the point when he cannot measure. This was taught to me over like 3 days by Sridhar Maharaj. At the meeting of Kurukshetra, this is one of the most important pastimes because it's not touched upon specifically in Bhagavatam. At the end of that meeting, Krishna tells the gopis, there is nothing I can respond, there's nothing I can give you to reciprocate to this. This is a rock that's too heavy for him to pick up. And he says, just be satisfied with your own glorious activities. Krishna book will say so.
Yes.
And I thought, that's all they get? You know? Well, that is when Krishna has to measure this, and that is the inspiration for his becoming Mahaprabhu. I don't know the ecstatic ecstasy of my own energy, Radharani's Hladini Shakti. So I must come as Lord Chaitanya. Rasaraj Mahabhav Duya Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the having absorbed and taken on all the moods of Radharani's Mahabhav. And then, and who's watching? Who's observing all this? Jagannath deity in Puri. So, Jagannath temple is Dwarka, majestic temple throne, Lord Jagannath, Lord of the universe. Gundicha down the road is the Vrindavan. That's a garden temple surrounded by gardens and ponds. And so Lord Chaitanya takes the chariot. Jagannath, you know, is wide-eyed in ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya is dancing in front of him in ecstasy, and he's taking him from the palace back to Vrindavan. Because Krishna at Kurukshetra, in the former Leela, says, I can't come back to Vrindavan, I have to still kill more demons. I can't come back now. So now Lord Chaitanya, as Radharani, pulls him back. That's when he says this strange verse. This inspired me with the Elvis thing also. Lord Chaitanya starts to recite the verse from Padavali, which is an erotic verse. A wife is telling a husband, I remember that before we were married, we had an affair under the trees before, and I remember you like that. There's a Parakya. So Lord Chaitanya, in the middle of chanting Hare Krishna with 12 kirtan parties all around him, starts to say this verse, this love poetry verse. Wow. People are astonished. Only Rupa Goswami knows. And Damodar Swarup, only they know. So Rupa Goswami scratched that on a leaf and left his hut, and Lord Chaitanya came to the hut, sees that leaf, and says, how did you know that I was comparing these two things? Krishna coming back to Vrindavan as the wife remembering when she was before she was married to her husband, remembering when they were lovers before. How did you? So, so this is why we accept Rupa Goswami as our, we are Rupa Nugas. And that's the point that makes that. So Lord Chaitanya, when the chariot stops, he goes behind the chariot, touches his head to the chariot, and it moves. And he's bringing Dwarka Krishna back to Vrindavan. And that road is Kurukshetra.
And what is the Gambhira? What does the Gambhira represent then?
No, it's
when Lord Chaitanya,
not a particular.
Well, when Lord Chaitanya goes to visit with Sri Gadadhar Pandit, and Sri Gadadhar Pandit speaks Srimad Bhagavatam to him. He takes the class. And so because Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined. He's Krishna trying to understand the moods of Radharani, and because Sri Gadadhar Pandit is Radharani, he's explaining to Lord Chaitanya the moods. So during the day, that's what happens, but at night in the Gambhira, Swarup Damodar recites all the verses. He's like the schoolmaster who gives the test to see if Lord Chaitanya has successfully understood all these moods and can experience them. So he says the verses of Lord Chaitanya, gives the answers to the tests, and Swarup Damodar, who's, I guess, Lalita Saki, he administers the test.
Yes.
That's how it was explained to me.
But the room of Gambhira, I don't know if that has any, unless it can be called a kunj, but I have not heard any explanation of the room. But the explanation of Ratha Yatra, this is the real Ratha Yatra, because when Krishna comes to Kurukshetra, he hears, that's before the Kurukshetra battle, before Gita, when they were all kind of friendly, and then he hears that the Brajavasis have come to a camp a little further away from all the kings and the elephants and the chariots. So they said, well, the Brajavasis, we can see them again, we can meet with them. So the three chariots led by Subhadra and Balaram and Krishna, the three chariots come. That's the three chariots that appear. That's how Lord Chaitanya sees Ratha Yatra. This is Krishna coming to the campment of the Brajavasis at Kurukshetra. They came halfway to meet him, and maybe we'll get a chance to see Krishna after 85 years of Boma Lila. 85 years Krishna was separated from them.
As this began with a wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
This is our point here.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. But even to go way back, there was a war between Daksha and Shiva, and they both survived, of course, but Daksha curses Shiva and says, your followers will be atheists. So they became Mayavadis.
Wow.
Shiva curses Daksha that your descendants will have no transcendental knowledge. Daksha is the progenitor. He populates the earth. And I think the Judeo-Christian and Muslim, they just can't understand that there's a spiritual consciousness apart from the physical body. They just don't get it. There's a line describing Jesus' crucifixion, and he gave up the ghost. No, the spirit gave up the body. They get it. They just can't understand the spiritual form of consciousness and Jivatma. They don't have Atma Tattva Gyan.
Yeah,
what else?
As a Catholic growing up and in my catechism, I always was taught I had a soul. It was like something I sort of carried around under my arm or something like that.
It's like you're the body and you have a soul. No, you're a soul who has a body.
That's right.
And that's in 2nd chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a dress. And when the dress gets worn and old, you throw it off and take a new one. Navani Dehi, a new body, just like a new dress.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that transcendental knowledge, it was just like another wow moment.
Right now, there's a lot of videos that people are all terribly confused about gender identification.
Yeah.
So many times I'll write a comment on these video discussions. I'll say, read Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 to know your true self.
Achyutananda Prabhu, I'd just like to introduce you for a moment to a friend of mine, Pradyumna Prabhu, not the Sanskrit scholar, but a wonderful devotional musician. He just sent me a copy of his version of Gopinath, which actually is inspired by you. And I was just wondering, you're the one that inspired all of us to learn these wonderful songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas. So I'm wondering, where did you, for example, get that beautiful Gopinath melody? We heard it from you before we heard it from Vishnu Jan Swami. You learned all these songs in the Gaudiya Math when you stayed?
Yes. Yes. So I picked the ones that they sang frequently and on festival days, and I translated them. And Gopinath is a long one, and there's even a part 2 and 3 Gopinath in the Kalyan Kalpataru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Yes.
But I just did one of them.
Hey,
and I remember in the hut, I built the hut for probably the first hut on the Mayapur land, Jaipadaka, and I purchased the land from Jabad Ali Sheikh, Muslim owner, who was very friendly. And I had to translate, when will that day be mine?
Kabe habe.
Kabe habe bolo se dina. And keep the melody. So I did the first line. I was sitting on the porch of that grass hut, kuti.
That's fading out.
Are you there?
I think his signal is fading out because I can hear him speaking, but I don't see it live.
I can't hear them at all. No, unfortunately.
Hey, that answer, you know what I said? I'll
never do that again. You have to really be a genius to write words and music to fit and make sense.
So did you write these melodies yourself, or did you?
No, okay. those melodies. Most of them were composed by Narottam Dasa.
Oh wow!
They're traditional melodies.
Yeah, you heard them from the Gaudiya musicians.
Yes.
Achyutananda, can I ask you a question?
Oh, of course.
Where do you stand on the controversy of where we came from? Atasta Shakti, spiritual Goloka Vrindavan. Where did we fall from? The Brahma Jyoti or the spiritual world? Is that too much to ask?
Prabhupada, I'm going to interrupt.
I'll explain. It's not being taught properly. We pestered Prabhupada for weeks. Where did we come from? And if you say, Krishna says, once coming to my abode, he never returned. Well, then how did we get here? And so he explained it, and then he said, do not discuss, debate, or speculate about this.
Then he raised it.
Then I remember when Jaiva Dharma comes out, that same topic is ended after the teaching. Do not speculate or discuss or debate about this topic, because the mind and the intelligence are essentially material substances and cannot understand these things. It has to be realized. Here's my story. Here's your answer. Who's there? Who asked? Somebody went away.
Siddhanta. Yes.
Okay, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Guy goes to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist says, tell me about your dreams. He says, I can't, they're out of focus. He says, okay, tonight when you go to sleep, put your glasses on.
Prabhupada also, when Achyutananda first told me that story, he said, Prabhupada said, you can't understand, it's a matter of realization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teaching it the wrong way.
And
finally, we said, well, we came from somewhere, Finally, he blurted out, he said, we are eternally fallen. End of story.
And Prabhupada wrote that Colin Tall logic letter. Also, there's a letter.
Now, also, to finish up this thing, because of that, I never gathered ammunition to debate, discuss, or argue this. But now that it's come up, others have written books on and have gathered so many quotes and examples.
You were saying, Chitananda, you were saying that the mind is a material substance.
Yes.
Well, to complete that sentence again.
The mind and the intelligence. Man buddhi. Bhumira polano vayu kang mano buddhi devacha. Man kang mano buddhi. The mind and the intelligence, that's prakriti. Prakriti rastada.
Which cannot understand spiritual.
And by the way, science, they only go, again, no transcendental knowledge. So they don't even go to the mind and the intelligence of the subtle body. They're examining, they're cutting open brains and looking at tissue to find psychology. They don't know the subtle body of the mind and intelligence, but they are also just subtle material and substances. So they cannot absorb, they cannot measure the absolute spirit. The spirit will know Krishna from its spiritual intelligence, spiritual consciousness. Spirit can understand spirit. Matter cannot understand spirit.
Very good.
It's like the glasses is not going to help you see your dreams clear.
Right. Good analogy.
Yeah, very good.
Well,
thank you.
I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but this Krishna consciousness is a science, is it not? And we can basically understand it, a lot of things just by the philosophy in the books. So why is it that on this topic, this cannot be explained? To my understanding, if you cannot explain something simply enough, it means you did not understand it properly. Right. So what do you think about that?
Even Jaiva Dharma finally also says to the Babaji Uttama, and this is a topic for Uttama Adhikaris, teaching their Uttama disciples. And he said, even if I explained it to you now, you would not understand it. Get on with your sadhana, get on with your realization, and then you will know.
It's just like if you try to explain calculus to a kid in grade 2.
Yeah.
Way over his head.
But it came to me after that, and not speculating, it came to me when I read Brahma Samhita. First 5 or 10 verses of the Creator. And Prabhupada loved to, it's right on I see the books behind you of the cover of the original Bhagavatams. Yeah, Prabhupada put that on there. And so there's Krishna who's expanding into the Chaturvyuha, and they expand and they expand. And one of them, and Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 5 is the Balaram Nityananda chapter, Glories of Nityananda, and it goes after the 40th verse, it's all Balaram. Balaram expands everything, and he is the one who manifests. He makes everything realized. So Hanonita Bine Bhai Radha Krishna Paitenai. To understand Radha Krishna, you have to get mercy of Nityananda. So then the chapter 5, Adi 5, most important chapter to know, because you can't get to the other thing before getting mercy and understanding of Balaram. So Balaram expands the entire spiritual sky, and one of those expansions is Mahashankarshan. Mahashankarshan, it says very quickly, is the shelter of the living entities. Mahashankarshan expands into Mahavishnu, and then he glances over the material world, and from between his brow comes a beam of light, and that is Shambhu. That is Shiva, carrying the living entities back into the material world. So Shiva then injects all of that into Mahamaya. Mahamaya is the shadow of Rama Devi. That's the Lakshmi who's sitting at the feet of Mahavishnu. He glances over the material world, and some of that glance falls on Rama Devi. Anatirikta Drishya. Anatirikta Drishya means not too indifferent. He looks upon her passionately. And the shadow of that passionate glance creates Durga. Shiva then injects the living entities into the material nature, and that's where the living entities who originally were stored, kept in Maha. So Maha Shankarshan then becomes Mahavishnu, and then into the material Prakriti.
Those are
So
the
today, so once upon a time, we could say the weather in Vaikuntha all clear. Today, partly cloudy. So then it manifests with the desire to create, to give the place for the living entities who are eternally fallen, a place to fulfill their enjoyment. One reporter once asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada didn't like reporters, but one reporter said, so what's the purpose of life, human life? He said, to enjoy.
Yes.
Another reporter, this is sidebar here, another reporter said confrontationally, so what do? You walk on water or something? Prabhupada said, there can be beautiful women standing here naked. You will be attracted. I will not.
Wow.
But that's a separate point.
Yeah.
But that came to me when I read the Brahma Samhita, and the way that Prabhupada put it on the cover, not just Krishna. We put so many covers of just Krishna, but he put the whole tattva there. The entire philosophy is on that cover of the cosmology.
Another controversy or debate amongst devotees seems to be from that one point about whether we come from here or there, is whether when we do enter the material world, somebody, and I heard in a class, and I have never read it before, that we're all born first as Brahma and fall from there.
I heard that too, but I don't think it should be argued or controversy. But similarly, this is reflected in everything. We are the father, women create eggs, men create sperm. So right now, all you men, we are creating these sperms, but that's not my son. It has to be manifested. It has to be put into the mother. Then the baby comes out. Then it's my son, my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, in Mahavishnu, before the Mahatattva has been manifested, these living entities are within the body of Mahavishnu, of Mahashankarshan. Spiritual sky, no Maya. Then to give them a chance, some of them come right back. Some of them go right back to Vaikuntha, because they look up. Some because they are Maya Nikote, the Prema Vivarta verse. Prabhupada quoted that all the time. Maya Nikote Gelo, Bhoga Vanchakori, with the desire, because they are near Maya. They see the wonderful works of Maya. They become attracted and want to enjoy Maya. The eternal associates in Goloka, they're nowhere near Maya. They cannot be near Maya. There's no Maya there.
There's two different living entities.
And
the
that's
Nitya Siddhas and the Nitya Buddhas.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, Lokaguru found that for me in Prabhupada. And this is supposed to be just quietly understood. I mean, even Adam and Eve were created on earth. But the chapter 25, Nectar of Devotion, discusses the two kinds of living entities. Some go, well, that means there's two kinds of living entities. There are two kinds of jivas.
Yeah.
Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Buddhas.
Well, the Nitya Buddhas,
it's easy to understand eternity. Nitya means eternity, but Anadi means, Nitya means, and Ananta means forever in the future. Anadi means forever from the past. Always, always. So time immemorial can mean that it's so far back we don't remember it. But no, and then Prabhupada says, and before that.
Well, the other concept
forever
is,
in a day.
Okay.
So it's kind of easy to conceive of forever in the future, but to conceive of forever in the past, that's kind of hard to accept, and we don't like it.
Right. In one of the purports in the fourth canto, I believe it is, where Prabhupada describes how when we fall, we either take a body as Brahma or all the way down so many different bodies that we can assume. Now, does that mean that we all start, if not as Lord Brahma, do we start on Brahmaloka? Or
I
can
heard
we,
that,
can we
yes.
go?
I
can we
heard that we
go-
get it, yes.
Go ahead, sorry.
Some, as the jivas are coming out of Mahavishnu, some of them look up and they're immediately liberated. No guru, no sadhana, nothing.
Mhm.
And some of them, I heard, were born on Satyaloka, yes. And that's a devotional planet, a completely sattvic planet. So yeah, they get a first chance. But they get involved in karma, and daksha progenites them, and then the lower planetary systems are created to accommodate them. Then they get on Earth, finally come down to Earth planet, and we make sinful thing, and we go down and further hellish planets then are manifest to accommodate them.
So is it possible for coming from the first birth not being so pure that we do reside first time in the material world on Brahmaloka, that can we go to a lower planet to begin with because of whatever we're attracted to?
Yes. Now it says Brahmaloka, not Vaikuntha. It is unthinkable. That's why it's never been really elaborated. It's unthinkable. No, once coming to my abode, you never return. Third canto, it is a fact. The conclusion, no one falls from Vaikuntha.
Achintya, inconceivable.
So we can go from being eternally conditioned to being eternally liberated.
Yes, that's called sadhana siddhi. By practice, we can, and then you're just as equal. Prabhupada gave, and that's why Prabhupada gave the example. There could be a cloudy sky all day, but once the cloud goes, it's clear sky.
Right.
The sun is shining above all those clouds. So when you return, and that's in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Gopa Krishna, what's his name?
Gopakumar.
Gopakumar comes back, and Krishna says, yes, I've been waiting for you, but nobody else knows him.
Huh. Why?
He's never been there.
Oh.
Wow.
Krishna's been with him all the time as Paramatma. You can never be separated from Krishna. But you can be, if the Prabhupada gives the example, I just heard Pran Govinda discussing how Prabhupada gives the example the material world is like a prison house. You know, the free citizens are under you go to the post office, it says U.S. Post Office. You go to jail, it says U.S. Penitentiary. It's the same government. That's why Krishna says, everyone follows my path. So I like to say, so Krishna's saying, you either do it my way, or you do it my way. Or you do it my way, or you do it my way, or you can, but everything is under Krishna. Not a leaf moves without Krishna's influence. So Paramatma is the all-pervasive, all-intrusive, in every atom, in between every atom, it's all there. One of my first questions that I asked Prabhupada when I first met him, I said, it was the Achintya Veda Veda, because I was very Mayavadi. I was reading Upanishads and Mayavadi Gitas and Buddhism. So how can God be all pervasive? Yes. And how can we worship him as being in a spiritual sky as a person? He said, just like you have many pots of water, and you'll see the sun in every pot. But the sun is not there, the sun is away. Yet the sunshine, and you see the sun disk in every pot of water, so it's there. First, we see an object by the light of the sun. If you polish that item, that object, you'll see the reflection of the sun. Then what you do, you go, oh, there's the sun. You turn away from the object and go and look, there's the sun. Prabhupada gave many examples of the sun in Krishna. And this is all Sambandha Gyan. This is what we are. This is our relationship with Paramatma, the demigods, the material nature, other jivas, and material things to each other. Jara Jara. Madhvacharya says, There are 5 dualities. One of them is also things are different from each other. Jiva is different from matter. Matter is different from Krishna. Jiva is different than Krishna. And things are different from each other. Yeah.
Amen, brother.
I want to ask
Yeah.
you, Chitananda Prabhu. I realize gravity is one of Srila Prabhupada's qualities, so it's not always possible to tell. But from your external vision, what was one of the times or a couple of the times that you saw Srila Prabhupada expressing the most joy?
I just heard that someone had asked him, Prabhupada, you don't, well, someone went to the archives and said, I want to get a picture of Prabhupada on the Vyasa-san smiling. There were only 35 pictures.
Okay.
Of Prabhupada smiling. And further, someone just asked me, Prabhupada, you don't laugh. He said, the people will not respect me.
Huh.
But another time, then another example, Prabhupada looked very sad in a temple. Right. And someone said, Prabhupada, are you upset? Or you did? No, I am very satisfied with this temple. Now, here's the conclusion. Some secretary, Prabhupada's servant, asked, I wasn't there, but he said, Prabhupada said, where's Devananda Swami? And he said, Devananda is washing his dhoti. Prabhupada starts to laugh. He was smacking the wall. Devananda is washing his dhoti, Devananda. And the devotee started to laugh along with him. Prabhupada stopped. He said, you never know why I laugh. And I don't know either. What's so funny about Devananda? But we don't know. And there's the gravity. You don't know what the mind of the spiritual master. Sridhar Maharaj told me he was on tour with Bhakti Siddhanta and they went to Kanyakumari. Kanyakumari is on the tip of South India. Right. The peninsula. And that is a Durga deity who is one of Durga's 9 expansions, or plus 10, is Brahmacharini Shodeshwari. Shodeshwari means 16. She's a 16-year-old girl. Maiden, virgin. And she is staring, she's looking north. In the Himalayas, there's Dakshineshwar Shiva, who's looking south. So all across, from the tip of India to the Himalayas, they're looking at each other. And she's waiting for Shiva to come and marry her. So Bhaktisiddhanta says to Sridhar Maharaj, the perverted mind of the public. This is a gopi looking north to Vrindavan, waiting for Krishna. And so he said, Guru Maharaj, this is a temple that's been here from time immemorial, and it is Durga temple. They're wrong.
Wow.
Then he said, who can understand the mind of the Paramhamsa? That's the vision. Just as the Lord Chaitanya sees a vision, he sees Rath Yatra, he sees the Jagannath temple as the great fortress of Dwarka, and he sees the Gundicha as Vrindavan. I don't even know what the Pandas in Jagannath think Jagannath is going on. Bon Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother Bon Maharaj, he said most of the Pandas there are Shaivite and Durga because there's a Bimala Devi there.
Really?
Bimala, and so many of them are Shaktis, and they say that Jagannath is Shiva. Huh. What Balaram and Subhadra are doing there, I don't know. But so most of them are Shaktis. They're Durga worship. So I don't know what they think Rath Yatra is.
Did you attend any of the Rath Yatras in India?
Not in Jagannath Puri, no.
No, okay.
But I went to get deities made there.
For who? For which temple?
For the Mayapur, for other, well, maybe America. I don't know where they were sent.
Were there other deities that you procured for temples?
That's a long story. Okay, here we go.
Good.
Okay, you asked for it. So I was traveling with Yasodanandan and 6, 7 brahmacharis in South India. We went 3 years on tour. And we came in South India near Mysore. Bangalore in between. And there was a mystic Babaji there with disciples and Brahmins and householders and he had some siddhis. He could make things appear in his hand. And he was sworn enemy of Sai Baba.
Whoa.
And they were saying that he is an incarnation of Dattatreya. Dattatreya is a Shiva Vishnu combination. So I guess we appealed to the Vishnu side because he loved our kirtans. So Mayapur was getting established, the big temple, the long building temple. So I sent all the brahmacharis, you all go back and help them. And some of them never been to Mayapur. But I'm going to stay here. And that's when I attempted a lot of chanting. And this Babaji, every day he had Brahmins doing a whole kodra of Brahmins doing yagyas. Every day, about 12 of them, every day. And then he had a big tray of salagram shilas. So I asked the Baba, we're establishing a temple, could I have one? And he takes one off the tray. There were dozens in a big copper tray. And he shows me a salagram, and here's a line, and here's a chakra, and here's a curve, and here's thing. And then he puts it back in the tray. So I figured, he's not going to give it to me. I'm not a Brahmin. So the next day, we go to the Kaveri River, and we're bathing just in our kopins. And he had a lota, and I had a lota, and I'm pouring water on him. He's pouring water on me. And he holds up his lota, and he shakes it, and you can hear something inside. Now, there's no sleeves. We're naked. And he reaches inside and takes out the salagram. And he shows me the chakra and the line and the curve and the and then he takes it and he throws it downriver. Plop. So again, I say, okay, he's not going to give it to me. He's telling me I'm not qualified. Okay. We get back to his temple, ashram, and he goes to the tray. He takes up a salagram and he shows me the same curve, the same chakra, the same lines, and he gives it to me. That's part one. So I wrapped it in silk. I wrapped it in silk and tulsis, and I bring it back to Mayapur. And with Jana Nivas, I said, "Come in with me. We're going to give Prabhupada the first salagram to establish." And so we opened it up, and Prabhupada had a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta facing him on a low table. And he opens it up and he says, okay, tomorrow we will install and get one flute, silver flute, and a crown and a small throne. And tomorrow we will install. Wow. Tonight he can stay here next to my Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
He always likes to be next to my Guru Maharaj. And a big tear fell out of his eye.
Wow.
Yeah.
The end.
Wow. That was wonderful.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Haribo.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. You've got so much nectar. I figured you could have written many volumes more than what you put in Blazing Sadhus.
I made it easy to read, and I didn't know if it was going to go for the public, for beginners, or for devotees, because a lot of the Prabhupada memory books are all Prabhupada stories. So yes. An outsider wouldn't get it.
Right.
And wouldn't understand, but devotees will. Yogeshwar has a great book. And Kirti, Sruta Kirti's book, the perfect title. What is the difficulty?
Yes.
The perfect title. And Sruta Kirti is so many. But, it'll say, oh, we met him at the airport and there was a big kirtan. And he gave me a garland. And we got back and he gave a lecture, he gave me a sweet ball. And now we, feel the intimacy of that, but someone else will say, so what?
Right.
Now that story that you just told us about the Shalagram, is that written down anywhere?
No,
No.
no.
Siddhanta,
You heard it first here, Krishnadas.
Siddhanta, have you
Well,
got
I've
that
told-
recorded?
I was just about to ask Achutananda, are you still in Alachua?
Yes.
Would you be willing to sit down with me again and discuss all these things like we're talking today? Maybe not necessarily Prabhupada, but some of these other historical things that you've discussed.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Great.
important. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful.
Any day better than another for you? Weekends, weekdays?
No, same.
Okay.
That reminds me of Prabhupada in Australia. You know, they would ask these stupid questions. Here's the spiritual master of this movement, and you could see Prabhupada's glory. You could see, at least you could see that this is a very, very influential personality. And they go, "How do you like it in Melbourne, Mr. Swami?" You know, and Prabhupada's answer was, "What is different? Same motor car, same building, same same kind of people. So what you are the same as anywhere else. Same pigeons in the park, you know." You know, ask something important.
Yes. Was there a time, you said that Prabhupada chastised you a few times, but I'm not necessarily referring to yourself, but was there a particular time where you saw Prabhupada very disturbed, upset about something? Comes to mind?
Mr. Nair.
Yeah, yeah, he fought with that. Oh, he was very upset with, at one time, Kirtananda had left, but then he came back and created New Vrindavan, but he was upset when he had left. Then, yeah, the Nair thing. Well, one time I showed him, some Bombay reporter was interviewing me, and the article came out pretty nice, but it said, it seems like most of Prabhupada's disciples are former hippies. So Prabhupada read that, no, his face went down. But then he said, but that is secret of success.
What, meaning that he was able to transform them?
Yeah, but also, yeah, that transformed. But he wanted gentlemen to come. Here's a good one. There was a gentleman who told Prabhupada that, give me a few more months and I'll settle up with my family and take sannyas. And he was a successful man in his 40s or 50s. And so he was saying that, but his wife, he told his wife, I'm going to take sannyas. The wife went wild. And then he told Prabhupada, no, I can't leave my family. Later that week, the wife did come for darshan with Prabhupada. And she was sitting to the side and she asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what is conditioned soul? He says, you don't know that? He says, why don't you go naked? She says, because we're in society. He said, therefore conditioned. See, no, she kept him back. She kept her husband back from making spiritual advancement. And that is, you know, you may know, but because you can't talk like that to Indian ladies, but Prabhupada can.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these Maharishis would ever talk like that, huh?
Prabhupada called a spade a spade.
Oh boy.
When Prabhupada went to India, did you also go along with Kirtananda or did you come later?
No, they went in June and I went alone in September. And I was able, when I arrived, the Hayagriva told me, he says, when you get to Mathura, just say you want to go to the Gaudiya Math. So I got a rickshaw take me and I had a short darshan with Prabhupada's sannyas guru, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj.
He was alive at that time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the last year of his life. He was very ill, but he sat up in bed And he said to me, there are two kinds of sounds, material sounds and Vaikuntha sounds. When we make material sounds, we get material things. And when we make Vaikuntha sounds, we get Vaikuntha things.
Beautiful.
That's incredible.
Another one for Siddhanta.
No, I'll get him when I come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. The first time I heard that Prabhupada, a story of Bhakti Pragyukeshwar Maharaj. Sorry, Siddhanta, what you were going to say?
I'm just confirming because I'm going to have to go pretty soon. I still have a couple rounds left. But does Leela Nanda have your cell phone or no? Again, how to get in touch with you? Is that the best way to confirm what day I'll be coming?
386.
Go ahead.
462.
Got it.
4920.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everybody. I have to go, but wow, what a joy. Thank you, Achutananda.
Yes, Achutananda Prabhu, we do this again. We do it like just as Prabhupada at 26 2nd Avenue every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you're the star of the show. We just want to hear from you.
Please. So amazing.
So when do you do it again? I didn't only
Monday night.
Local Guru found this meeting was going on.
Yeah, I sent it to him. I sent him the link today. Yeah.
So when is the next one?
Monday.
Okay.
And tomorrow is a Prabhupada festival in Los Angeles. If you're interested in tuning in on that, there'll be 9 devotees speaking.
And what time it starts?
I think 7 in the morning, but it goes until the afternoon.
No, I mean this meeting with you.
This goes from starting at 8 o'clock every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's so pure nectar hearing from you. Wow.
Oh, yes. So thankful for your presence.
The nectar for which we've always been anxious.
Hopefully your health is good and you'll be around with us so that we can get every last bit of nectar out of you.
There's one thing, all of the Gaudiya living disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta would come to Sridhar Maharaj for advices, and one of them, I left with one of them, and on the train he said to me, always fresh news from Vaikuntha, from Sridhar Maharaj. He always has new news from the spiritual sky.
Nice.
I always thought I have to do that. If I don't have new news, then I'm run out of, and I'll stop.
Of course, if we're just
then I'll know that I have to make more advancement if I run out of something new news.
Yeah.
Although if we are just repeating, the words of the acharyas and everything else and sharing all that, it's all glorious also, right?
Yeah. Over and over. You can say it a million times and it's
ever fresh.
Ever fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Many times to new people, they say to people even in the grocery store, the checkout lady, well, what is Krishna? And I'll say, Krishna is more beautiful right now than he was 1 second ago. So don't blink.
Right.
And I think that gets them. Who could think?
Yeah, didn't the gopis curse Lord Brahma for making eyes that blink?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He should have made them transparent.
I have two quick questions to ask you. May I?
Yeah.
Okay. One of them is, I had been reading somewhere that Srila Prabhupada said that he wanted Pradyumna Prabhu to finish the Bhagavatam, and he was supposed to do that in consultation with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Is that?
Yes.
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 Okay.
But I wasn't there, but I've heard that since then.
Right. And another one I heard is that the Temple of Vedic Planetarium should be built in conjunction with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, based on that.
Yeah. Of going up. See, every time Gopa Kumar goes up, then he comes back to Vrindavan to do more more bhajan, and then he gets promoted to Indra, then he gets promoted to a Brahma, then he keeps coming back, yeah, and then up again. So it's a curvy path. It's a tortuous path going up that way and then coming down.
And were you there in Mayapur when Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasan with them together?
Yeah.
That's such a loving photo.
Yeah.
I heard that Prabhupada invited him to come and live in Mayapur and was even going to build an elevator for him.
Yes.
Prabhuji, could you share one of your? Could you share a story from maybe one of your travels to Vrindavan, Shri Vrindavan?
Travels to Vrindavan?
Yeah, like any amazing experience you remember.
Well, we had.
I don't know, but
after Prabhupada's, I think it could have been the two heart attacks on the ship, and then one in New York, and then we started to realize that we need to take care of him and properly, because we didn't know. So many times people say, "What is Krishna consciousness?" He would say, "It is the unconditional state of consciousness." So we thought he didn't feel anything, or had no sense, but it's like the iron rod in the fire. Also, my example, like a copper wire. When it's plugged in, you really don't care about the copper so much, but you take care of it.
Right.
Make sure it doesn't break, but you're not so concerned that, so like that, we didn't take care of him at all. And he was typing till late at night with 2 fingers and very overworked. So then we started to really understand we have to honor him. When I arrived at Radha Damodar Temple, September 67, Prabhupada was on the outside porch, just wearing that one cloth tied behind your neck. You know that, what is Uttarvesh it's called, but that just means upper cloth. Right. It's where there's one cloth tied behind your neck in the back. And he was squatting down, cleaning a lota with some straw. He looked like a rishi from the Satyuga.
So simple.
Oh.
Lota, you mean like the area outside, or what do you mean by lota?
By what? Lota?
Yeah.
You don't know what a lota is? Have you ever gone to the bathroom?
Yes, many times.
Well, then Prabhupada told us this way. In America, you use paper. In India, we use water.
Okay. Wow. He was cleaning that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I often remind people, what was the first thing that went out of stock when COVID came out? Toilet paper. And I tell children, I said, look, if you put your hand in stool, would you wipe it off with a dry piece of paper? No, you'd wash it 100 times.
Right.
But they wear a mask, Meanwhile, they have filthy habits.
So you spent 3 months in Radha Damodar and you saw Prabhupada close up.
Habits.
You saw Prabhupada interacting with all the Brijabasis for 3 months.
Yes.
That's amazing.
There's many different Vaishnava Sampradayas there. There's a big Nimbarka community there. And the Gopal Bhatta line of the Radharaman temple. Their grandfather was a close supporter of Bhaktisiddhanta.
Oh.
He had the title Sarvabhauma. That's the highest title a Pandit can have, is Sarvabhauma.
Mm.
Can conquer all everything in the world.
Sridhar
Maharaj's title is Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Deva Goswami. Deva means he can instruct the demigods.
Wow.
There you go again.
And the Banka Bihari temple, what lineage do they belong to?
That's called Hari Banks.
Oh,
Swami Hari something Swami.
Hari Das, Hari Vallabha, or
Yeah. Then there's a Radha Vallabha temple that's, they were established by a very strange young man. He was a disciple of Gopal Bhatta, but he wouldn't observe Ekadasi, and he would chew betel, and Gopal Bhatta rejected him.
Huh.
So he started a temple on his own, and now they've written just absurd things that he wrote some 20, 50 pages of book when he was 6 months old or something. It's just, and they don't practice Ekadasi.
Mhm.
It's
Strange.
very strange, but it's a very nice, beautiful temple. And you go.
Hmm.
But anything, it is done by debate. See, if this were Europe and somebody had a different line, like Protestant and Catholic, there's a war, there's a bloodbath.
Right.
In India, there's a debate,
Hmm.
and you can show by Shastra. And if you still reject, then go, okay, then go do your nonsense. If people think that you're somebody, if they're attracted to your siddhis or something, or the way you look or your beard, go ahead. But by Shastra, no, we don't accept it. Even a Shankaracharya came to a temple in South India. They had an image of Krishna and Shiva and the older Sri Satya Baba, Sai Baba, Sirdi Sai Baba. He was a Muslim.
Was he?
They had a murti of him. And the Shankaracharya came there, they took the deity out and threw it in the river. That you cannot have this Sirdi Sai Baba and say that he's God together with Krishna.
Right.
And that was the Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya came to preserve the Vedas. He did it in a very Mayavad way, but if it wasn't for him, the Vedic culture would have been lost.
Wow.
So still, it is the function of the Shankaracharyas to preserve, quote, quote, Hinduism. They're very strong in that way.
I've seen that Sirdi Sai Baba all over India, and I'm always wondering, who is this person? Like,
what? I don't know how he came. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. What about that big marble lotus that's hanging from the inner temple of the Radha Govinda Mandir? This gigantic, I don't know if it's granite or marble, but it's just unbelievable. It's hanging there. How did they do that? Any idea?
Well, have you seen these videos of Praveen Mohan?
Praveen Mohan?
Yes, write that down. He's going to all these temples, showing all these impossible architectural devices and structures that amazing. But Pradyumna Prabhu told me that there are 2 towers there, and one of them is empty. And he told me there is a story that they were going to build the 2nd tower for Mahaprabhu to come back to Vrindavan and stay there.
Really?
But it is not authenticated.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also Praveen Mohan has a video on Kamsa's palace. That's there.
Kamsa?
Yeah. And many other South Indian things with very, there's a gigantic pillar and it's not touching the floor.
Oh, I read about that. I saw it. Yeah.
And then the Konarak chariot temple, there are 2 chariot wheels where you can tell the exact time by all of the different balls and decorations that are around the wheel. You can tell the exact time. And there's another one that tells the time by the moon. But there's 8 other chakras with all of these intricate designs on them. And they don't know what they're for. I think they're for telling time according to other nakshatras.
Wow.
Did you meet, I met Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj when I went on a Govardhan Parikram. Did you spend any time with him?
Okay. Wow. Right back at you.
Yeah.
He never slept. And
I heard
people from different places. I said, "Did you see Krishna?" Yes, he never sleeps. Yeah, he was up on. I was in Sri Damar's temple, and Krishnadas Babaji was up on a bed, wooden bed. I was down below, and he was chanting Hare Krishna, sitting up. I woke up the next morning. He was there, sitting up, chanting Hare Krishna.
Wow. You didn't even go to sleep?
No, I did, but he was up in the morning. Nobody ever saw him sleep.
I asked him a question one time when I met him on that Govardhan Parikram, and he just went, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay, he took a vow of really not Mona. In public, he would speak. But he was educated. He spoke English. Spoke English very well. The one time he was in Bon Maharaj's temple and he was singing a Sanskrit Padavali, very intimate. And even Bon Maharaj came running out and said, no, 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 don't sing that. There are brahmacharis here. They can understand. These are parakiya. These are erotic words. They said, no, no. So I told that story to Sridhar Maharaj. I said, Bon Maharaj stopped Krishnadas Babaji from singing some Sanskrit song of Madhurya. And Sridhar Maharaj said, Babaji Maharaj can be naughty.
That's naughty. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, Krishna.
There's a famous quote by Babaji Maharaj that he knew that Prabhupada would spread the holy name all around the world, because during Prabhupada's sannyas initiation, didn't someone want the kirtan to stop or something, and Prabhupada wanted to keep it going?
I don't know that.
Okay. Siddhanta.
But Prabhupada wrote when the first year. There's a great book. I don't know how many copies. I gave mine to somebody, called The Beginning, and it's Prabhupada's 1965 diary.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. He also was writing letters to Sridhar Maharaj and Narayan Maharaj also. And he wrote once, I don't think I can do anything here. The people are rude, the people are dirty. And Sridhar Maharaj wrote back, start a mission in America or die there.
Oh my God.
And he was our last hope. The last hope. Bhaktisiddhanta sent sannyasis to Europe and England, and they came back. He said, they're coming back in suits.
Which disciple? Okay, so first it was Kirtanananda, and then was it Brahmananda, or was it you, or was it Gargamuni, the Brahmananda and Gargamuni? Which number were you? 4, 5, 3, 2?
There was an initiation before of 12, but most of them left.
There was
I was initiated with Gargamuni, Kirtananda, Brahmananda, and somebody else. Might have been Jadharani.
So you were at the first initiation?
No, Jadharani was initiated in October with Rupanuga.
Okay, then no, there was a fourth one. I don't remember who.
But also, one devotee I know was at a Burning Man festival. And he met this old guy, and he had these big round red beads.
Yeah.
And he said, who are you? He said his name was, he said he knew Prabhupada, and his name was Karlapati. And he said, so you're chanting? He said, I never stopped chanting.
Wow.
And then he asked him, I read in Prabhupada's book, or Prabhupada Lilamrita, that Prabhupada stayed 2 weeks with you. And he said, no, he stayed 2 months.
Wow. Wow.
And so, some of these devotees, I mean, this devotee, he just never stopped chanting. He just didn't do it in the association of all the others, We don't know what's going on.
I think there's many out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I Vaishnav, one who chants even once the name of Krishna.
Yeah. He's to be known as the best amongst men.
I managed to find 894 Prabhupada disciples on Facebook. Actually, I probably found over 900. I probably found over 900, but because
if you go to the Ritwiks, you'll find 800 more.
Hey, actually,
I'll say they're Prabhupada disciples.
Gora, if you want another story about Krishna Das Babaji, Dira has a really good personal story.
Okay.
You know, he'll just talk to him about it. It's elaborate, it's ecstatic.
Sure.
And it's a mystical one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dira Das.
Dira Das, yeah.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Hey, if you get that, Gore, can you email it to me? Because I really don't go on Facebook much.
I don't blame you. I understand. Yeah, okay. I'll contact Dira and I'll
yeah, you'll it'll be worth it. You know, he tells it much better than anyone. It's his story, and when I heard it, I was ecstatic from it, listening to it. It was great.
You have such a vision that none of us have at Chutananda Prabhu, because you go right back to the very beginning and you're seeing everything through Prabhupada's eyes, and you know Prabhupada's vision. I'm just wondering.
No.
Yes?
I don't see through his eyes. I don't know what he's seeing.
Well, you know better than most of us.
Rephrase that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, from what you heard from Prabhupada and the way you were influenced by him so early on, I mean, I don't want you to speculate, but I'm just wondering, you know, here we are in 2021. I'm just wondering how do you think Prabhupada would see things, or what changes would Prabhupada would make, or, you know, what are we doing that we should be doing that we're not doing? Or,
well, somebody, you know, I when I first came to Alacha, it was like 10 years ago. The first Janmashtami, there were 5,000 people. There's chanting, huge kirtan. They have displays all around, dioramas all around, chanting Krishna, lectures, Bhagavatam, decorations, circumambulation, a yajna, but mainly things of chanting, and 5,000, the parking lot was full of cars. And somebody asked me, do you think Prabhupada wanted this? I said, well, what do you call this? The deities are spectacular. There's morning program, offerings going on. You know. So Prabhupada once, he would quote, you know, I don't know who said it, England, with all thy faults, I love you.
yes. I love thee. England, with all thy faults, I love thee.
I love thee. Who said that? Nelson, or he's got a statue of himself somewhere, I'm sure. Piccadilly. Sure, he looks like David Niven.
So you were with Prabhupada primarily in India and in New York and any other places?
No.
Okay.
We took one trip to Haryana. That's near, we went to Kurukshetra. There was some kind of inter-religious conference.
Can you remember any instance of Prabhupada rejecting somebody, or maybe even rejecting his own disciple?
Yeah, very rarely, but what he didn't, because you really never, but because if you reject somebody, they will be on the outside your enemy. What he did do, 2 or 3 people that I saw, he would say, one person, he said, you don't need a guru, you know. Another one, he said, you can travel with your wife and play your guitar and you can travel everywhere you want. It's like you can go home. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So that's the way he put it.
There was
These are
also
really, really dangerously rascal people, really dangerous, trying to be gurus, etc.
I found the quote, England with all thy faults, I love thee still, my country. And while yet a nook is left where English minds and manners may be found, shall be constrained to love thee. That's by William Cowper.
And what did he do?
he did that.
He's just a poet. Just a poet.
I remember Prabhupada quoting Cowper that man created the cities, but God created the country. That was another one he liked to quote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's in one of the small books. Quote from Cowper. The Prabhupada quoted the Merchant of Venice. And
in what? I don't know.
Does anyone remember what that was?
I don't know.
No clue.
About Shylock?
I don't know.
Did Prabhupada quote Shakespeare?
I don't remember particularly.
Did Prabhupada talk to you about Scottish Churches College and some of his early?
I went there. They invited me to speak because a disciple of one of their alumni that made good. There is a book of I think 10 very successful personalities who began their success late in life, and Prabhupada's in that book. I don't know the title or anything. I don't know the title or anything, but Prabhupada is one of them who started his major career at the age of 70. And there are others like that. But so I went to Scottish Churches College, and is Dinanath still active? Dinanath was.
Yeah, Dinanath's in Vrindavan.
Okay. So he was a great kirtan leader. And this is so funny. So on the way, some pastor stops him on our way to the school, nearby the school. And he says, he puts his hand on his shoulder. What's your name, son? And he says, Dinanath. No. What's your real name? He says, Donald. Donald, are you happy? And he said, this is where I got it from. He says, I'm diving and surfacing in an ocean of transcendental nectar. And the guy couldn't take his hand off it. He was stunned. He was stunned. He couldn't say a word after that. Then Dinanath, we walked on. So then I gave a talk at the Scottish Churches College. They wouldn't let us chant Hare Krishna. So at the end of my talk, I said, so now Krishna Kirtan is all over the world, except here. And some of the boys came up to me. They felt terrible. Oh, everyone is chanting Hare Krishna, but we cannot. They felt bad.
This is actually, it's come from a conversation in Bhubaneswar. Yeah, I mean, not only am I an aspiring devotee, so, I'm not racial about anything, but I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I have no issue with Jews, but here Prabhupada's saying in Bhubaneswar, yes, they have got, the devotee says, who is it? It's Rameshwar says, these banks in the West, they supported Lenin. They made it possible to finance his revolution. Prabhupada, yes, they have got money. The Jews have got money. They want to invest and get some profit. Their only interest is how to get money. No nationalism, no religion, nothing of the sort. Therefore, it is not now, long ago. Therefore, Shakespeare wrote Shylock the Jew.
Okay.
Hari, sorry. Yes, Shylock, Prabhupada. 1 pound of flesh, quote unquote. The Jews were criticized long ago. I don't know what that means, 1 pound of flesh. They were hated in the Middle Ages.
That was his, okay.
Yes?
Oh, so Shylock lends money to the merchant of Venice, the Christian.
Yeah.
And he says, what do you want in interest? He says, let me look at my rates. He says, no, 1 pound of your fair flesh. Well, he invested in the ships and it was lost. He says, so I will pay you. Yes, you will pay me 1 pound of your flesh. And so there's a big trial. And the merchant offers Shylock, double in gold ducats. But he says, no, I refuse. Okay, the award is forfeit. I will have my bond. Now, here's that speech that they think means equality, but it doesn't. Are we not cut by the same weapons? Do we not get sick by the same diseases? Do we not laugh at the same humor? And that sounds like an appeal for equality. But at the end, he says, so if we are not wronged, do we not also seek revenge? He's still a nasty guy. So now here's what is written. Kosher law says you can only eat meat that has no blood. You know that?
Yes, kosher, yeah.
Koshering. Kosher means to purify. That's where we get the word kathar. Kathar, kosher.
Oh, I see. Kashrut, yeah.
Kashrut. And kathar, the kathar is also, they were pure. So you purify meat by taking out the blood.
Is halal the same idea? Halal?
Same system. So just they want to eat meat, so they were lawyers, so they found a loophole. It says you shall not eat the blood. So okay, we take the blood out. Oh boy! So in the trial, the Shylock wants to cut out this flesh from the merchant, and the judge says, "Wait, your bond says 1 pound of flesh, but not 1 drop of blood." So he's using kosher law against him. How did we get to this subject? Anyway, but he was using kosher law to save the merchant. And they had scales, But that's the point of that. But there was another point before we got off on this whole thing. Sridhar Maharaj would do that too. He would stop and ask me, he said, how did I arrive at this subject? He could take things and go from the Skanda Purana to the newspaper, everything. He could harmonize. That's why it's amazing that Bhaktisiddhanta's magazine is called, of all things, the Harmonizer.
Hey, I see that Rupa Vilas has his hand up, it looks like. Does he want to ask something? Rupa Vilas, you're muted. Make sure if you want to ask something.
Is he even still here?
I see his name.
Well, he's got his hand up.
I can't see him. I'm surprised.
He's got the little white hand.
Oh, Rupa Vilas, you want to say something, Prabhu?
No, nothing to say. Just listening.
Okay, it looked like you had your electronic hand up, so I thought you may have a good question or something.
And then Sridhar Maharaj also would often say the finest adjustment of rasa, because we have this Jiva Tattva, Maha Tattva, Brahma Jyoti, Vaikuntha, Goloka, the material influence on the Jiva. What is the adjustment? The adjustment is bhakti. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena. Tesham bhajatang priti purvakam. Priti purvakam. Very, very dearly loving. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena upayati.
I was
again, it brings up that Krishna's opulence of renunciation is he can show Arjuna his universal form, and Arjuna is just aghast to tell you, take it away. Come back to your two-handed form again. Now, without Prabhupada's explanation, everybody who reads Gita thinks at the end when it says, oh, and when I think of that form, Sanjay says at the end, when I think of that form, they don't think it's the universal form. They don't think of the Krishna form. That's Mayavad. So you have to have. Patram pushpam palantayam. without Prabhupada, without commentary, who would know that that leaf means a Tulsi leaf?
Mm-hmm.
All these yoga schools, all these Mayavadis, they never taught that, and they knew.
Thank you for reminding me. I thought that meant any foods in the category of with leaves, vegetation, but
specifically it means Tulsi.
Uh-huh.
It is in the purport as well.
Yeah. And Tulsi is one of the 64 limbs. That's also the therapy. 64 limbs of bhakti. Living in a holy place, doing japa, worshiping Tulsi, circumambulating the temple. 64 ways. Pick 4.
Please grant me the privilege of devotional service.
No. Instead, they give pills. Ahara nidra bhoya maitun. There's eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. You have a sleeping problem? We got a sleeping pill. You have a sex problem? We got sex pills. You have a paranoia, fear problem? We got a paranoia pill. You have an eating problem? We got a pill for that.
You're speaking to Dr. Maheshwari here. She's giving prescriptions all the time.
So give.
Of course, she just got, 5 million rupees to give the proper prescription to everybody. So.
Yes. Best prescription.
Yeah.
But you said the Pakistan government gave an amount?
Yeah.
Well, the American government never gave any amount to ISKCON. That's amazing.
It is.
It's really amazing.
Why do you suppose they did that? To protect us, maybe, that they didn't want to slaughter?
Because they're trying to improve their image. Didn't you say something, Nityarada?
Yeah, the entire story of how it proceeded would be published on Danpatas and Pranam sooner. So would be getting more information. But yes, it is like previously the relationships were not cordial between communities which are residing in Pakistan. So now it was a better step to create the harmony, unity, and inclusion.
Yes, when I was in India, I really applied for political asylum because Vietnam War was there. So the first time I went to CID police, they said, if you went back to America, I said I'd go to jail because I didn't go to the army. So I was kind of in exchange, a little bit higher than a hostage. Because if they're nice, if one country is kind to their foreign citizens, that foreign country has to be nice to their citizens. Quid pro quo. So it's like that. So immediately I had 1 year extension all the time.
Wow.
And I knew the language. That made them take me seriously. I wasn't just a hippie looking for asylum. Many hippies went to Kathmandu and Goa.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, you went and spoke Bengali.
Then they, if you learn the language, if you don't learn the language, then they think you're not really serious about your adopted country.
Right.
Yeah, very good.
Did you learn Hindi too?
No.
Okay, just Bengali.
Yeah, a little Hindi, but not much.
Prabhupada must have been so happy that you learned Bengali because
he never showed it. He never showed it.
Oh, really? Because didn't he say that was it
just
Lucky Siddhanta who said that the people would learn Bengali to read Chaitanya Charitamrita?
That's what that was. The first thing was Sridhar Maharaj told me was to go to Yoga Pit and get the 2 big volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Every morning the rule was we read 1 chapter of Chaitanya Bhagavatam in the morning and 1 chapter of Charitamrita at night.
Oh, nice.
So we went through both books about 2 times.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked you to do that.
That was the rule in his mutt.
Uh-huh.
So we all read it together.
So nice. Wow.
Interesting how Krishna puts all of us in exactly the situations we need to be in order to make spiritual advancement. He takes care of us all so personally.
Yeah,
No.
it really is. It is quite a function of, I think, Yoga Maya and Harinam in the middle of Kali Yuga still all this time. There were many times when I'd look over my shoulder and said, this isn't going to last. You know, people will go off and be separate devotees, but no, it's fantastic.
How is it that you teamed up with Yashodanandan Swami? What year did that take place?
He was with Guru Kripa preaching in Japan, but they decided, and nobody was favorable. So they just collected enormous amounts of money in donations because the Japanese saw them as some kind of monk. So they, and Guru Kripa brings money. Money comes to him. And he gave it all to Prabhupada.
Yes.
And then Yasodananda, now that's kind of dry though. I mean, every day his brahmacharis and they would just go out on the pick, you know, and then Yasodananda really wanted to learn, and he did learn Sanskrit slokas, I mean, by the hundreds. When I would give a lecture, if I didn't know a verse, he'd be right there with the verse. Wow. So he said, I don't want to go back to Japan now. I want to travel in South India with Chidananda. And we went 3 tours, 3 years with the brahmacharis.
I have a recording of you, I guess Guru Kripa and Yashodanandan Swami chanting Brahma Sanghita together with a tambura.
Yeah, Prabhupada really liked that. We would start every lecture in South India because they're pretty strict. That's why I took sannyas also. I know if I preach in South India, brahmachari, they don't really care, but a sannyasi, wow. You know, because there are very few, really the only sannyasis in South India are the acharyas.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to preach in the form of sannyas. And so you saw that we went to
mind blowing for a lot of the Ramanuja or Madhvacharya sannyasis to see Western sannyasis down there.
Yeah, they like it. Now the Ramanuja Sampradaya, you may learn, some of them have a tilak with some portion on the nose.
Yeah.
They're caste-minded. They didn't like us. But the one where it's just a U and a red in the middle, they're very, very open.
Oh, I stayed in Udupi for a month and a half getting Ayurvedic treatments. I went to the Udupi Krishna temple. They were so kind to me. I was thinking that the Pandas in Jagannath Puri need to take a Bhakta program with the Madhvacharya Pandas, because the Madhvacharya, they were feeding 200 people every day lunch.
The Pejawar Mat Swami loved us because Sridhar Maharaj told me that Madhvacharya doesn't write about Brahma Vimohan Lila, and also Madhvacharya was asked, is there a reflection of everything from the spiritual sky here? He says, yes. And they said, well, what are gopis? And Madhvacharya did not go into Parakiya Bhava at all. At that time, he was not there to present that. But he said they are Dibya Veshya, transcendental prostitutes.
Huh.
So I wrote an article for So I wrote an article about Mayavadi, that they are Dibya Veshya. That was the title. Dibya Veshya, transcendental prostitute. That Mayavadis are prostitutes. They worship 5 kinds of deities, and then they want to become the deity. And then they leave the deity and merge. So they're just like a prostitute. They love that. They printed that in their magazine, and they love. So the Pejawar Swami gave us a letter. Ramanuja, one of their acharyas, gave us a letter that we should be allowed into temples. There's a nice picture. I don't know where it is. There's a picture of me and Yasodananda Bhanu. Brahmachari was there and others, and we're standing in front of the temple with the Mahant of Ranganath, and there's a sign that says, only Hindus permitted. That was, But they still didn't let us into Jagannath Puri.
How many letters did Prabhupada write to you?
I don't know. I didn't. The letter thing, I have difficulty with letters because Prabhupada wrote letters for devotees in all different situations.
Right.
And you don't, sometimes you see Prabhupada's letter, but you don't see the letter that the devotee wrote.
Right.
So you don't know.
You don't know the context.
You don't know the antecedents. And, open a restaurant, don't open a restaurant. Get married, take sannyas. Finish school, don't go to school. You can find a letter for anything.
Right.
Although some of the letters are really, really very sort of general, and he almost prefaces some things that he says by, separating it from the sort of personal part of the letter to something very general.
Prabhupada gave a class. I don't remember what year. Bhagavat Maharaj told me this. It was in Vrindavan. One devotee had gone away due to someone publicizing a letter that he wrote to Prabhupada, or Prabhupada wrote back. And Prabhupada said, these are my private letters.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not for the public, unless he said, show this to all the others.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But I remember back in even, I came later in 75, but I remember whenever a devotee would get a letter, everyone would want to read it. We'd all very enthusiastic.
There's some devotees who showed their letters, and then other letters they kept private, and they never, showed them or never revealed them so that they could be published in the letter books, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think Ekanath Prabhu received several hundred more. I don't know.
I discovered a cache of all the letters, Xeroxes of the letters that devotees wrote to Prabhupada, along with Prabhupada's reply.
Wow.
I had like files that they were just left in Potomac. I put them in my truck, drove them down to North Carolina, and gave them to Ekanath.
Oh, nice.
But, I was thinking, because Nityananda had said, I want those letters, I'll publish the whole thing. And I realized I should have done that because they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
They've never, but, hindsight, it's always 2020.
Nityananda's still on his Fiji island.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know he built some big house. He had it individually, each piece by piece taken from Mississippi to Eflin, North Carolina. Then he sold it. Then he went up to Sandy Ridge, lived across the street from the devotees. That's the last time I ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've seen the website.
Oh, okay.
It's his own island in Fiji. That's where he's propounding his poison from. But I'm not going to go there because I don't believe that even as intense as some of our godbrothers could be, I can't imagine anybody doing anything like that to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, well, nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
But one devotee, do you know a devotee named Tirthapada? He joined in New York in the early 70s.
Yeah.
He asked Sridhar about something similar. He asked Sridhar Maharaj in somewhere between 1978 and 1985. He'd heard that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had been poisoned.
Right, or some attempt. Yeah.
I said, didn't you want to do something about this? And Sridhar Maharaj said, we couldn't imagine that Krishna wouldn't take care of this personally. So, to them, the guru leaves of his own accord, no matter what's done, no matter what appears to be done.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
Prabhupada-
from a medical viewpoint, Srila Prabhupada would never have survived as long as he did. Even you can tell that he left when it was between him and Krishna. Totally.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
He said he wanted to finish books. He wanted to finish the Ramayana. He wanted to finish he wanted to start the Sat Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami. He even said he wanted to do a Bhagavad Gita, and a devotee said, Bhagavad Gita, but Prabhupada, you've already done that. And he said, there are so many Bhagavad Gitas, so many
Purports. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Narayan Maharaj, he included the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
In his Gita.
Prabhupada's, yeah, Prabhupada's is primarily Baladev Vidyabhushan.
Right.
Oh, no, did he? Wait a minute. Hold on, I don't even know. I may have gotten that wrong.
No, that's right. Baladev,
Okay.
yeah. Govinda Bhashya.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Vedanta Sutra.
Wait a minute.
That's a big one. He dedicates the Bhagavad Gita to Baladev. When I was with Prabhupada alone in India and Delhi, he was always reading Baladev's Gita and Baladev Vedanta Sutra.
Wow.
And then he taught me privately one night. He taught me about 3 of the purports. That's in the book. It's in the Blazing Babas.
Yeah.
And also in it, I do believe he had Jaiva Dharma, because in America there was a beautiful brown book, and that's you can get it on Amazon. You can get a Kindle too, and so I definitely think there was one brown book with a beautiful Bengali blue engraving on it. And I know I said, what's this part? I said, don't touch that. And now I remember, it was Jaiva Dharma. Because now after Jaiva Dharma came out, I said, this is exactly the way Prabhupada spoke to us. I mean,
which version was that? Whose translation are you speaking of?
Word. Huh?
The original.
Jaiva Dharma.
The original in Bengali. It wasn't printed in English.
Okay, but Bhakti Vinod Thakur is right. Okay.
Yes,
right.
But it wasn't out in English. I saw some chapters in a Madras Gaudiya Mutt magazine, a few chapters. But then when the full copy came out from the Narayan Publishing crew, there was a whole advisory company. And I said, this is exactly the way Prabhupada spoke.
Well, Jadharani said the exact same thing when it came out. She said, Prabhupada used to speak to us just like this.
Yeah.
And which came out? Which?
Jaiva Dharma.
Yeah, which one was she referring to, though?
Oh, she was referring to the, I don't know, 1999 or something version of Jaiva Dharma. It had been printed into Hindi.
Yeah.
It was in the original Bengali. It had been translated by others. And then Keshava Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother and sannyas guru, told Narayan Maharaj to translate it into Hindi. Only Narayan Maharaj didn't know Bengali, so he had to learn Bengali. And then he translated it. And there's something in the beginning of the book where he blessed Narayan Maharaj for creating such a wonderful version of Jaiva Dharma in English. And then the one that Gopi Janabalava did, it's pretty much very similar.
I've got this one edited by His Holiness Sri Srimad Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Goswami Maharaj, and translated into English by His Holiness Srimad Bhakti Sadhaka Niskinchana Maharaj, Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Yati Maharaj. I picked it up.
Oh, right.
Many years ago.
What
I
year-
have the same one.
What year did that come out?
I'm just looking right now. It was only 150 rupees. 1994, second
Okay.
edition,
All right.
1994.
Yeah, Prabhupada told some devotees that they shouldn't really purchase books that were from the Gaudiya Math because some of them had been translated after Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had left this world.
I'd heard that, yeah.
And therefore, the translations were made by realized men and there could be discrepancies.
Yeah. And even I saw videos of Prabhupada's lectures and talks. And even by 1972, he was very upset that people weren't reading the books. They were only selling.
Yeah.
Uh, one controversy I remember hearing from one godbrother is, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I believe, has like 700 or 800 Sanskrit verses coming from other sources, and some of them are intimate books like Ujjvala Nilamani, Lalita Madhava, even Govinda
Right.
Lilamrita. And so some devotees have felt that it's justified that because Prabhupada makes reference to these books, therefore we can read them. And there's the other school of thought that no, these are very intimate books. Most of us don't have the Adi card to go there. But yet some say, yeah, no, but Prabhupada is saying, if you want to learn more, then you should read the books of the Acharyas. So I guess discretion is a better part of valor on this issue,
Well,
right?
you have to read the books that are translated by Uttam, pure devotees like Prabhupada. And you have those purports are going to be for the most part okay, but we still need someone to explain it to us.
Right.
I can read this, I can read that, but I may misconstrue. Maybe we should hang it up because I'm feeling tired too.
Yeah, it's the Sankirtan Festival in Los Angeles tomorrow from morning until afternoon. There'll be 9 speakers talking about how to overcome obstacles in book distribution. So that should be pretty nectar. Dramila will be talking. He's met every movie star you could think of. So
yeah, I know. He spent a month in Alachua recently.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Great.
I hope I can.
He's amazing.
I think he's doing a table.
He looks like he could be an actor. He really has a photogenic. So a lot of these celebrities think, do I know this guy? And
right.
That's the book. He approached Marlon Brando and sports. And I think maybe he's in the industry because he looks like some character
He's got a classical look to him.
But he knows everybody. He knows what they look like. He knows all their names. He knows what they do.
He knows all their movies too.
Well, he's in New Orleans. They're always filming something or other.
Yeah.
They always have streets blocked off. He's there. Right now, he's been going out. I think he's doing tables.
Yeah.
Not just person to person. I think he's just doing tables.
Yeah. He's got a couple of devotees to go out with him. Yeah.
No, it's ecstatic.
I hope I can sign in for some of that tomorrow. But I'm actually working with people dying of COVID, but I get to chant to them sometimes too. So
nice.
Yeah, on their deathbeds.
Yeah. You have that link, local guru, Prabhu?
What link?
For the Sankirtan Festival tomorrow. It's a Zoom.
I don't, but I don't think I'm going to be available.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Or
is it good? Is it on Facebook?
It's on Zoom, but I can send it to you and you can share it with the Chutananda if you want.
Okay, will I be able to, are they going to record it and you'll be able to?
I'm assuming they are. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming they are.
Okay. Yeah, just send it to me. I really appreciate it.
Vice Shishika will speak and so many. Okay, well, I from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for coming together. And I
thank you.
Monday.
Practically, this has been one of the most ecstatic evenings I've had in long time since Prabhupada was here.
Ah, we gotta squeeze every drop out of you, Chitananda Prabhu, and Loka Guru also. Thank you for bringing a Chitananda Prabhu and for your association as well.
Yeah, a lot of nectar, a lot of nectar.
I hope next time you'll have a camera so we can see your faces.
He does. It's just blocked off.
Oh,
He's
okay.
worried that somebody's going to capture his soul, you know.
Okay, so we'll hope to
Thank you.
see you on Monday evening at 8 o'clock if you can make it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this, Gora, and inviting me.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I'm so happy you could come, Pradyumna.
Yeah,
Please
a lot of
accept my
nectar. Thank you.
My obeisances to everyone. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam
Nam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Bol.
Jai.
just now leaving.
And Shikarani, are you still there? She helped to record all of this. Rupa Vilas, you're still there.
Yeah, I just finished changing Krishna's water, so it's time to.
Wasn't that ecstatic?
Oh, wonderful.
Wow, what a nice surprise. I just happened to just shoot, at the last minute during the last half hour before we start projecting, I just start sending out random Zoom messages. Here's the link, please come. We're starting in half an hour. And I really hit the gold rush tonight. Yeah, I sent it to Local Guru because Local Guru and the Chutananda, they're either neighbors or they live together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Alachua. Was it last year? I think I went to visit because we live about 70 miles away.
Uh-huh.
And went down, but it was pretty well empty. There's just a few people. And went to get some new beads, and the store didn't have too much stock. They were waiting for inventories to come in. But lovely place, though. I think I'll take my kids down there.
Yeah, I'd love to visit you sometime in Florida sometime too. It's a long drive for me. It's like at least 24 hours nonstop.
Yeah, we're going down in June 11th. We're going to go down for a couple weeks again.
Yeah, I can't
But
even.
I think I'm selling it. I'm going to sell the house. We just don't use it enough.
The one in Florida you're going to sell.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't even come across the border. It's illegal right now.
Oh, yeah, because of the COVID still?
Yeah.
No, well, things are easing up. A lot of people flying. They said, I think 1.5 million people were flying through Atlanta airport this weekend.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So easy. Things are easing up here. The stores, people are not wearing masks anymore.
Uh-huh.
Because so many people have been vaccinated.
Let's see.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Chutanananda still there, I see.
Who's still here?
Well, his computer's
I'm
probably
still on. Anything?
Oh, right.
Anything left?
No, well, we'll see.
When we asked Prabhupada about Bhaktisiddhanta, he didn't say much.
No, huh?
One time he just said, what was Bhaktisiddhanta like? And he threw his head back and said, even when he was wrong, he was right. But he wanted us to just read my books first, and then you can go on. Also, I'm your guru, ask about me. Bhaktisiddhanta is my guru. I'll remember him.
Did you read the Bhakti Vikas Swami's Bhakti Vaibhava, his 3-volume?
No. But I think Banu's translation of Sarartha Darshini, I have the 10th canto of that. That's pretty good. And he did. I read the Paramatma Sandarbha, and I think he's pretty reliable.
Yes. Many think so.
But I also, where does it say in Upadeshamrita? Don't read too many books, too many different books.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by them here, but I don't do a lot of reading. I'm on Facebook too much. But no, I want to. I have a lot of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's books, which I haven't read either, but they're wonderful when I do pick them up. Yeah. I know he didn't create any books. They're mostly compilations, except for his Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Well, there's Guru and His Grace,
Right.
and Where Angels Fear to Tread. What is that called?
Yeah.
Those two.
Fools Rush In. Where
Fools
Angels.
Rush In.
Yeah.
I like that.
And something about evolution or
I don't know.
subjective evolution. And
I didn't read that.
and Reality, the Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sri Krishna. And I have another one here that was put together by our godbrother Dayadar. I met him in Jagannath Puri, and he gave me this book called Poetry of a Saint, Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Volume 5.
Wow.
And it has Pillars of Faith and Chapter 2, Somehow Connect with the Infinite. And dial M for Mahaprabhu. So I questioned them further. If Mahaprabhu himself is there, then why is your Guru Maharaj, who is the greatest devotee, upstairs in another room? If Mahaprabhu himself would have been present here, then whoever is the highest devotee amongst you should have stayed at his side. But he is staying upstairs in another room, and Mahaprabhu is placed in a separate room near the street where everyone can see him easily. Why your Guru Maharaj is not here by his side if he is Mahaprabhu himself? I'm not sure what is the context for this. In the beginning, when I went to the Gaudiya Math, the Murti, the deity of Mahaprabhu, was there in another room. I asked, this Murti is made of what substance, earth or wood? The devotee attending the deity told me, he is Mahaprabhu himself. Do not try to see wood, earth, or anything else. Mahaprabhu himself is present there. They replied, Guru Maharaj is also at the side of Mahaprabhu in his heart. That is the higher conception. A more real conception of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's presence is here and also in his heart. This is a higher conception of Mahaprabhu than the deity conception. He is always enjoying the presence of Mahaprabhu in his heart. Such a devotee is of a higher type. So Krishna consciousness, God consciousness is like that. It is Chinmaya. It is conscious and spiritual. The Lord has manifested himself in this mundane plane of our sense experience for our benefit. He is not to be neglected. However, this conception, this presence of his grace is considered to be for the lower section. Yet the deity should not be considered as an idol. The deity is also his presence manifested for our gross senses. However, a devotee always sees all things connected to the Lord, the center. Acharyam eva haraye pujam ya shraddha ye hate. Natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakrita smritaha. That's the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 47th verse, which means when we do not learn to appreciate the presence of the Lord in the heart of his devotees, but only confine ourselves to such symbols connected with him, our standard of devotion is meager. That's a quote from that book.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So please save yourself so you'll have some energy for next Monday.
Okay.
That was great connecting with you, Prabhu. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Rupa Vilas.